everybody, and welcome to Book Speak. As I said before on this channel, I do book reviews from audiobooks, and most of the audiobooks that I talk about, you can find actual books on Amazon, on Kindle Unlimited. But since I am reviewing audiobooks, we will be discussing not only the authors and the stories, but also the narrators. And if there is a movie adaptation of a book that I'm reviewing, I will do a little comparison between the book and the movie. Because sometimes one or the other is better, and then sometimes they kind of come together and are very close. I try to cover all genres, and I hope that, something is on here for everybody. I know a lot of people like different genres of books. I like most genre of books, anything from true crime to horror to mystery to thriller, romance, paranormal romance. I will be talking about some books that are a little risque or more for adults, but I also like young adult, teen, and we'll probably throw in some classics too. And by classics, I mean older books, kind of like things like maybe Charlotte's Web, or that those kind of books that you grow up with, and those would be suitable for kids. But if you like my content and you like the book reviews, please leave me a like, leave a comment, let me know what you like to read. I'm also on Goodreads. I have a group on there where you can look at my the books that I've read, the books that I want to read, or what I'm reading now. We can have discussions on the different genres or the different authors and comparing different authors. Also, we have a group on Facebook, and I'm hoping on there maybe to get some sort of conversations going, and book recommendations and different things like that, and build an actual community. Also, that on Facebook is where I will be posting like updates, what's going on, what I'm working on, and since this is new, I am hoping to get on a regular schedule, but it does kind of depend on how long the books are, how long it takes me to get through them. But since I do audiobooks, I will be telling you what the runtime is on them and when they were released to Audible. Some of the books are older and were released in paperback and hardback, years ago, but are just now being kind of released on Audible in audiobook form. And audiobooks are great. You can listen to them in the car. I listen to them like when I'm cleaning the house or cooking, or even at night when I go to bed, I will listen to them. So if you really don't have time to sit down and read a book, then audiobooks might be the way to go for you. Anyways, into the video. Now, like I said, today I'm going to be talking about Stephen King's The Dark Half. And it was narrated by Grover Gardner. And its runtime is 15 hours and 14 minutes. And it was released on Audible in 2016. And this book I found rather interesting because if you know Stephen King or know, if you're a fan of his, then you know that he wrote under the pseudonym of Richard Bachman. And this book, to me, shows some comparisons with Stephen King's and his I guess pseudonym, or between Stephen King and the Richard Bachman author or name. So Thad Beaumont is a writer, and as Thad Beaumont, he has written a couple of books and they've done fairly well, but under his alter ego of George Stark, sorry, started to say Richard Bachman, but under his other name of George Stark, he writes books that are darker than what he writes under Thad Beaumont. But he ends up getting blackmailed because someone has found out that he writes the George Stark books. And instead of feeding into being blackmailed and all this, he just decides that he is going to make it public and he's going to kill off George Stark. Now, this is where the trouble begins, because all of a sudden murders of people he knows or people that he has a connection to looks like he did it. The sheriff in I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Thad Beaumont and his wife live in Ludlow. Now, if that name sounds familiar, that is the town where Pet Sematary takes place. But if you go, yeah. And I'm sorry, I'm drawing a complete blank right now, and I don't have it written down, I don't think. Anyways, I'm thinking it's Castle Rock. Yes, it's Castle Rock. Okay. Thad Beaumont and his wife have a summer cabin or whatever in Castle Rock. And the sheriff there, who is, and I'm looking at my book, Alan Pangborn. Now, Alan Pangborn took over for the sheriff George Bannerman, and George Bannerman makes an appearance in Stephen King's other novel, Cujo, that I did a review for on here. And he also makes an appearance in The Dead Zone. So, Alan Pangborn, this is his first appearance in a Stephen King book, but he will also be in another book that I'm going to do a review on. And this is kind of like a welcome to the Stephen King universe, there are Easter eggs all through his books. But anyway, so the Dark Half, Alan Pangborn, is investigating the murder of a man in Castle Rock who has ties to Thad Beaumont. And Alan discovers bloody fingerprints at this murder scene that match Thad Beaumont's. And at all these other crime scenes, there's evidence that points to Thad Beaumont. However, in all these cases, Thad Beaumont has alibis of that it's not him. But he is also starting to experience different things going on in his own life. And I'm really trying not to give away any spoilers, because to give away a spoiler in a Stephen King book to me is almost ruining the book. But there is some mysticism kind of going on here. And of course, Stephen King brings in his supernatural twists and turns into these books. But as Alan tries to figure out how these murders look like Thad did them, when Thad has an alibi, and then Thad and his wife try to discover what's going on, or they start to figure out maybe what's going on, which is kind of unbelievable. And they explain this to Alan, and Alan is like, there's, this is just crazy. There's no way this could be real. But he does discover at the end that what they're saying is really going on. And with Alan's help, Thad does defeat the antagonist in this book. But it's a wild ride. It can get confusing at times, but it is definitely worth a read. And I think it's one of Stephen King's, not one of his greatest books, but it is a very good read. It's up there towards the top of some of his really good works. Now, I did watch the movie recently, and then I went back and read the book again, because the movie on its own leaves you wanting more, or wanting more of an explanation of what's going on, more of a, I don't know, I guess like most movie adaptations, because they can't fit everything from the book into the movie. So the movie to me wasn't that great, but the book, after watching the movie, the book does help the movie make more sense. I think the book keeps you hanging in a little longer to find out what's going on. I do remember reading this book years ago, which is why I had to come back and read it again. And the book and the movie are both older. They are not recent at all. The narrator for this book is very good. He is not one of my favorites, but he did a really good job as far as bringing these characters out and getting you through the story. It wasn't, he didn't drag. You could tell the difference in the characters' personalities. You could differentiate with the, male and females. You could Like I said, he's not one of my favorites, but he does do a really good job. And another Easter egg that is in this book, if you have watched Creepshow, and I'm talking the original first one, Creepshow movie, there's a reference in this book to Billy. You know, everybody calls me Billy. So there's that reference, and that would be in the original Creepshow movie in the section called The Crate is where she is. So that's a good tie-in. But this is one of Stephen King's older books, and you know, Stephen King is kind of one of those authors that if you like him, you like him. And if you don't, you at least appreciate some of his work, because most of the time, even if you didn't know, you've probably seen a movie that is based on one of his books or one of his short stories. And even though people accredited him with being, you know, this horror master, Stephen King does not consider himself a horror master. Stephen King just writes what he writes. Most of his stories are kind of macabre, and he holds no punches. I mean, if you've read anything of him, you know that if you're in a Stephen King book, no one's safe. Everyone is vulnerable for anything. So I guess that's kind of a good thing for him. But as far as The Dark Half goes, I would recommend it. I mean, it's especially if you're just getting introduced to Stephen King, or just getting introduced into darker books, because especially if you're just getting started with Stephen King, because his earlier books, although they are kind of gory and kind of dark, they are not as in-depth as some of his newer works. A lot of his older books are shorter and kind of an easier read, or more of a, I don't want to say a light read as far as the content, but a light read as far as the length. Like I said, this one, 15 hours and 14 minutes, and if you listen to it while you clean house or cook or going back and forth to work or a long car trip or something like that, I mean, you can get it, you can listen to it basically in a day if you've got 15 hours to listen to a book. 2 days tops, if that's what, you know. But it's a good book, and I would recommend it. And I would, especially when you're reading or listening to Stephen King books, definitely look for the little Easter eggs, because there's some that I missed, and then I'll go back and re-listen, and I'll be like, oh, I recognize this character from this book, or he's mentioned this town before, or, you know, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's gonna be it for The Dark Half. It's, like I said, it's a short book, so it's kind of a short review. If you like the book reviews and you want to hear more, then like I said, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and you'll know when I upload a new review. I'm getting ready to start a new book probably in the next day or so, and it's a new author for me, a new narrator for me, so I'm really looking forward to it. And I do have a couple of more Stephen King reviews that I'm probably going to get up in the next couple of days. Excuse me. I am going through my backlog category, or my backlog of books in my library. Some of the ones that I have read recently, I'm doing reviews on. Some of them I'll have to go back and re-listen to. I've also got some more Ron Ripley books coming to review, because he has become one of my favorites. And I mean, so far I have read everything that he's put out except for maybe some of the short story collections. But check out the video that I've done of Ron Ripley's Moving In series. It's very interesting. The next one I'm going to do with Ron Ripley will be the Berkeley Street series, books 1 through 9. And if I'm doing a series like that, then I'm going to do all the books in one video instead of doing each individual book, simply because to go from one book to the other book and I do them separately, there's going to be spoilers, and I'm really trying to avoid that. But if there is a series of books that you would like me to do each individual book, just let me know down in the comments or on Facebook or on Goodreads, and I will try to get that done. But that's all for this video. Thank you for spending your time with me, and I will see you all in the comments.